Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Jeff. Woo. Yeah, and we're back. It's 2 weeks in a row. Amazing.
3 weeks in a row.
3 weeks in a row. Well, hey, it's been a long.
Do not undersell us.
Hey, I've been sick for the last couple days. Don't blame me. But this is Podcast versus Everyone, episode 170. With me, as always, is Jeff Nusser. And
Hello.
Tonight, we have one of our favorite guests. I'll just say our favorite recurring guest. Kind of our only recurring guest is
at this point.
WSU assistant basketball coach John Andrzejek. Welcome back, John.
Yeah.
Wow, I mean, what an introduction. I'm honored to be your favorite recurring guest. There's only one place to go better than that, and that's just to be a co-host with you guys.
Yeah,
well, you know what? Maybe that's in the future, although you're a pretty busy guy. You're a pretty busy guy traveling around the world, recruiting, all the stuff that you do. Not sure if podcasting weekly is in the cards for you.
Hey, no, it's not in the cards because I wouldn't be as good at it as you guys are. That's the real reason.
This show sucks. What are you talking about? I don't know.
That's not true. Not true.
All right, well, maybe.
Great. Well, it's awesome to have you, John. And obviously, we brought you on to talk about fall camp football. So just wanted to get your thoughts on that, and what do you think of the offensive line and all that? But so yeah, what are you thinking there? I'm just kidding.
You know what? Hey, if Coach Dickert's watching or listening, I should say, I'm ready. Whatever I can do to help the team. I played about 15 years ago, and I was a really bad player. And I played fullback, and I'm ready. Whatever you need. Put me in, coach.
Just decided basketball coaching was a much better use of your brain.
Yeah.
I hope so. We'll see.
What's a full?
There wasn't a career in football. I absolutely
What's
know
a fullback? That. Does that position still exist?
Well, it didn't exist for Coach Leach. I'll tell you that. But it's. I think you're in charge of absorbing pain. That'd be the best way I describe the position. You just you put out fires, you run into people. That's about it.
That's accurate.
Great, John. Well, I guess we could just hop right into some questions if that's okay. Is that okay with you? Unless you want to talk about
no problem.
Hanging out with lemurs or something, but otherwise. We can talk about the basketball team. That's why we brought you on.
Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't get that reference, I was just in Madagascar actually for the under-18 African Championships. Obviously, we've made a push the last few years and trying to do a really nice job recruiting African countries. And specifically like French-speaking Africa. So it's good to go down there and see some players. But also I was able to get to a zoo, and I sent Craig and Jeff some pictures of lemurs and these huge tortoises and all chameleons that are the size of my arm and all sorts of wildlife.
And they let you touch them all. That's the thing. Like it's like it's like a petting zoo, but with like crazy exotic animals.
It's a thin line between zoo and just being in the wild over there. So, the guide was just like, come in the exhibit with me. So it was unbelievable. It's something I'll never be a part of again.
It's safe, I promise. No big deal.
Yeah. Did not get eaten by a crocodile this time. So good news.
Yeah. And part of that also, you were in Europe for the U18 Euros, right?
Yep. I think we'll probably talk about it as we get going, but I really think it's important if you're going to recruit international and it's going to be a big part of your recruiting philosophy. You got to be present. You got to be over there and be seen by the teams and the kids and their parents and kind of wear the logo. And so you guys know too, we got some supporters in the crowd too.
I saw that.
Yeah, Nikola Koprivica is a NBA scout for the Detroit Pistons now. He covers Europe specifically, so I got to see a lot of him the last few weeks.
That's fantastic. We love Nick.
That
guy was.
You got to get him on the pod here.
Ooh.
I mean, he's a great guy, and nobody.
I love that.
Nobody bleeds crimson more than him. I mean, he is. Yeah. All in, telling stories till 2 a.m. about how great this place was and how they turned it, and he's the best. He's really the best.
Yeah, and his story is incredible too, with the knee injury and kind of muddling along and then having this huge senior season. He was a big part of that. Yep. He's awesome.
No doubt.
Great. Yeah, talking about it. Obviously, you look at the roster now and some of the recruits that are coming in this year, a couple guys from France. Obviously, you're talking about recruiting, certain countries in Africa. So, how have you guys been so successful recruiting internationally? And how are you able to do that? And why is it such a focus for you?
Yeah, I think it's a focus because at Washington State, you really have to keep all your talent streams open. You have to be open to recruiting good regional players that you know well and believe in. Guys like CJ Ellaby, Jabe Mullins coming in. But you got to be able to take a transfer here and there. We took Mike Flowers. Justin Powell obviously is joining us this year. Jabe's a transfer too. Mm-hmm. But then some of the best players that have played in this league, especially, have been international guys. So we've made it a priority as soon as we got the job that we're going to go to all these events and be present and get to know all the decision makers that are involved with these kids. And I think it's kind of a positive feedback loop, and where if you do right by one guy, he tells his friends, and then you have another one, and then now you have 2 people that say it's a great place, and then it just kind of grows from there. And that was certainly a big part of our most recent commit, Kimani, because him and Mael started together on the under-18 national team. Right. They're friends. So when Kimani's trying to decide if he wants to stay in Europe or if he wants to come to the States, and then which college he wants to choose, having that pre-existing relationship with Mael was a big factor for us.
Seems like that would really help them for the adjustment when they come over too. We saw on the women's team, Charlize Ledger Walker comes over, her sister's already over here, helps with the adjustment, new country, small town Pullman, everything. So I bet that makes them feel a lot better.
Oh, for sure. And we now have a pretty sizable French-speaking contingent on the team. I mean, all of our Senegalese guys have at least some French, if not fluency, and then we're adding a couple more French guys. So if you're listening and you're an undergrad that would like to be a manager and a French translator for us, please email me. We could use you. Je parle un petit peu français, but we need some more help. So
yeah, I know you're not kidding either. That's what's great about
it. French is a very difficult language to learn too.
Oh goodness. Yeah. That does kind of lead me to wondering though. So like, the I don't know if I want to call it a saga, but with Muhammad Gay and his exploring, what he wanted to do after the season, whether he was going to, go pro or what his decision was going to be. He ends up coming back. And you mentioned now you've got this, sort of contingent of, French speaking people. And it just, I don't know, like kind of watching after Muhammad decided to come back, it really seemed like he was kind of a magnet for these guys. And not just him, but like the other recruit, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. I'm sure you can do it for me, but it's just sort of like he seems like this magnetic personality who draws people toward him. And what kind of role did, him coming back, being that, French speaking player from Africa, like what role did that play in sort of recruiting these other guys to the roster?
Yeah, a huge role. I mean, I think it's no understatement to say that maybe the best part of the offseason was getting Muhammad back. And the biggest reason is he is a great, great dude. Like, we love being around him. His teammates love being around him. He's just a genuine, loyal guy, and the reality is he was telling us throughout his time in the portal that he wanted to come back, and it sounds crazy. He was like helping us recruit AD while exploring his own options. So, so these things are complicated nowadays. And I think we were, obviously a bunch of things happened at once with the portal rules changing, the NIL changing. So this was a little bit of a perfect storm, but I mean, it's awesome to have Muhammad back because he's a great ambassador for us and what we want our program to be about. And then he's also a really good basketball player. let's not forget that part.
That's kind of the bigger part, right?
He's capable of having a big year for us and being one of our leading scorers and potentially being a captain and shouldering a lot of the load.
Yeah, and he really seemed to get adjusted, take some steps forward towards the end of the season, seem more comfortable in what he can do. And you could just see the potential there for just a guy that has so much. He's so fluid, so athletic, and just again that he works on that shot, and he started hitting some of those shots towards the end of the season, and just he's already got he's got moves, he's got everything. So again, he's one of those guys at WSU. We don't. Before you guys came along and brought in FA and brought in Deshaun and Mo, like, we just didn't see big guys come in and contribute right away, be starters right away. And so it was really cool to see what Mo could do, and really, really happy he's coming back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, his best basketball is still ahead of him, and he knows that. I mean, he's still as good of a player as he already is. His ceiling, his potential is even higher, and we're rooting for him, man. Like, we're hoping, let's get him to the NBA and have a big year because he deserves it. He works hard at his craft and he's developed his skill and he wants to become a really good shooter. And I think you guys have noticed and talked about it before. His aggressiveness in games and trying to score got better and better as the year went on, and I think
when a guy can take basically one or two steps from 18 feet and dunk the basketball, that's always a nice feature to have.
Yeah, I wish I had that in my game when I was playing. That would have been nice.
Yeah, and I'm sure all your new guards are going to love throwing him lobs too, but. What are some of the areas that we might look for that he's working to improve as more is going to be asked from him this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely looking for him to take on a larger offensive role and score more and adjust to the fact he's going to be a focal point for the other team's defense. He will probably see a variety of different coverages this year. I think they'll switch on him some. I think he'll definitely get doubled on some post ups and drives and things. So that's just going to be something he's got to evolve with and work under. But he should not be going back to 7 points a game. I mean, we should be seeing a good bump up there into double digits and putting good pressure on the other team.
Yeah, that's great. And along with Mo, you obviously have him taking a bigger role. You have other guys taking bigger roles, and we'll get to the new guys in a bit. But you have other guys taking bigger roles. So someone that comes to mind for me is TJ Bamba, who again has a skill set that looks like a guy that can attack and score, just has never had that usage. But it seems like he's going to have a bigger usage role this year. So how do you see him? Is he ready for that? Is he ready to step into that?
Definitely. Again, like what gives us a lot of confidence and optimism about this coming year is those two guys possess really good leadership qualities. They're about the right stuff. They care about their teammates, and they want us to have a really good team. Not just be good individual players and score well, but for us to win games and make a run at this thing. So TJ for sure, I think, will take a bump up in his role, both in a leadership way and also in terms of his offensive aggressiveness and some of the stuff. He can really make some things happen out there. I mean, you guys have seen it. He can pull out a transition dunk out of nowhere, and he's got an ability to clamp a guy defensively, and that certainly will be something we'll.
He really showed his value defensively last year, and it was crazy early in the season when he dunked, and then it was mentioned that was his first dunk. Because he's just a guy that very clearly can fly, and
he gets a lot of them in practice, so that was a bit of an anomaly.
He had a great one in the garden, though, so I'm sure that's a great memory for him.
That's right. Yeah. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, it's a guy who's that strong that can get downhill is quite a weapon. Who are some of the other guys who are now going to be rotating into some of the newcomers who are going to be rotating into the backcourt? Obviously thinking about Powell, thinking about Jabe as you mentioned. And what are some of the things that they do well? I mean, it's obviously we're kind of familiar with what TJ does well, but how do these guys fit in with the puzzle that you guys are thinking about in your backcourt?
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely going to be some opportunity for them to get in there. I mean, we have some really good returners to start with. I mean, that's obviously the most important thing. I mean, I think TJ can slide there. He's a really good player. I think Miles Rice is a guy that you guys haven't really seen yet, but that we're pretty high on. And just believe he's a guy that can put a lot of pressure on the rim and transition off a closeout, uses quickness, makes some plays. But then the additions are good. I mean, we're excited about them. Obviously, Powell's a guy who had a 10-game stretch with Auburn where he looked like one of the best guards in the country, and was really piling up assists and throwing over the defense and knocking down threes. And he last year was playing a little more of a role player type role for Tennessee. And we're hoping that, we can get more of those assists out, and get the ball zipping around and throw it over the defense and get us some good shots. Jabe is similar. I mean, Jabe played at a really, really high level, program that we obviously respect a ton in St. Mary's that does things the right way and plays hard as heck and is really hard to guard. And he's another big guard that can see over the defense. He has a really good shooting stroke. So he should be a good complement there. And then a couple of the true freshmen. I mean, Dylan Darling's a local guy that is good. I mean, he's talented. He's put up gaudy numbers in his league, and he can really defend and put pressure on the paint. He's got good vision. Very unselfish passer. But the best part of him is just his pedigree. The fact, his family comes from here. Obviously, his dad was an awesome football player. So he bleeds this program and really cares about it, wants it to be great, wants to get us back to the NCAA tournament, And then the latest one, Kamani, is a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades that can play a lot of different positions. But he can definitely play in the backcourt too. I mean, he was second in FIBA under 18s European Championships in assists, 5.5 assists a game. He's huge. He's 6'6", can throw back across his body, can find the roller. If they put a smaller guy on him, he can body into him and has sort of the size that allows you to score at the rim or hurt a team on a switch. And I think that's one really nice thing that we're going to have this year is we're just going to have taller, bigger guards than we had last year. I mean, those guys could really score and get off their shots quick, and they're really hard to defend. But their size limited their ability to help us defensively and in rebounding. And I think we just have much bigger guards that are going to be more comfortable fighting the fight and getting on the glass and maybe switching or playing zone or whatever it may be. Some more. They just give you more versatility defensively, and then they're big and can see over the defense. And I think a couple coverages that we've maybe struggled with at times were drop where the other team just takes their big and kind of gives ground in the pick and roll, and they basically make the guard try to score over the big at the rim. And when you have really small guards, that's challenging. But when you have big guards with if they got a downhill run of steam at the big, they got a chance of getting fouled or putting it in, and all those guys that I mentioned are at least average in size, if not really
definitely
big,
backcourt. 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" guys coming in now, big change. And that's it. There's you mentioned the passing ability of a lot of these guys, and having a weapon like Mo and weapons like TJ who can get to the rim and really finish. It seems like something that maybe was missing a bit last year was that final pass. Sometimes I think Flowers got really good at the pick and roll by the end of the year, but sometimes that's missing, because really if you just got to throw the ball near the rim and Mo can go get it. It seems like you guys have really put an emphasis on passing, and I know our resident young basketball analyst Bryce will very much appreciate that. He talks about passing constantly. That's how he assesses guys. He always loves talking about their passing. So, and he has said a lot of these guys, he's been impressed with their passing. So that's really even the other Frenchman he brought in, Mael. He seems from the 4 or 5 position seems to have the ability to pass really well as well.
No, we're excited about the 2 front court guys we brought in too. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Mael is a skillful player. I mean, he's got a really quick, smooth shooting stroke. I mean, the French national team sets drifts for him and staggers and things. Stuff you don't see very often for a 6'9", 6'10", 250-pound guy. Coming off of a drift to shoot a 3. And then he's a good passer. I mean, you can throw it to him in the high post and he can look off a defender and drop it down to a big or throw it out for a 3. So he will definitely be one of the most skilled front court players that we've had. And it's all kind of incumbent on how quickly he can adapt defensively and rebounding to the college game. But his skill is really good. And then Adrame, you guys know really well. I mean, he's a great athlete, really quick and long. He's a guy who can switch 1 through 5. He can cause terror in the pick and roll by blitzing and showing. And then he's a pretty good passer too. I mean, that's the thing people don't really necessarily know about him, is you can throw it to him at the top of the key and you can set screens for each other and cut off of it, and he can find those guys. So that's something we're we're excited about. Gives us a little more versatility offensively.
Yeah, I was going to say,
maybe we've had at times.
I believe it was at Dartmouth. You were kind of the offensive coordinator. So how does that, having guys that can pass at all positions, how does that kind of open up your offense a bit?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think to have a really good offense, you definitely want to have as many guys as possible that can dribble, pass, and shoot. Because when you have those ingredients, it puts a bind on the defense, and they can't put two on the ball because you're going to be able to zip it around and cut and get each other open shots. So I think we got a chance to get some pretty good looks at the basket this year. That'll obviously be really important, as it'll be hard to replace the offensive rebounding and shot blocking of a guy like Fa. But these guys got tools, man. Like they're chomping at the bit and want to get in there, and they all bring something pretty valuable to the table.
So talk about FA real quick. Obviously going off the G League Ignite, I'm sure you would have loved to have had him back, but sending a guy after 2 years with you, especially, with where he came from with the injuries, the knee injury, coming over and 2 productive years and then off to a professional contract. I mean, that's a feather in your guys' cap, I think.
Yeah, no, I think it ended pretty well. I mean, it would have been awesome to get it back, and obviously it would have given us a chance to go really, really far this year. But we also knew we would have been really, really fortunate if we were able to keep all 3 of those bigs. The reality is they're all guys that can be good high major starters. So if you got 3 of them stacked up on each other, there is some truth to that it can prevent them all from shining at the same time. So, and then beyond that, FA's got a chance to make really life-changing money for his family. I think, I don't know the specifics on his contract, but I believe it's like $350,000. So that's significant. And it's real easy to say, I would for sure come back and all that stuff, but that's big money.
Especially for a guy who's already had one sort of major injury that he had to come back from.
Definitely.
I think there's something to be said for that. And then you mentioned, hey, all 3 bigs. We haven't even talked about Deshaun yet, who is sort of like, it seems to me anyway that he's just sort of like laying in the weeds over there, which is kind of odd to say for a guy who's
definitely
6'10" and 250 pounds. But talk a little bit about his development. He has just been, it seems like, snake bitten by some really ridiculously stupid injuries that are just like not like, it's not a matter of being injury prone. It's just like really bad luck. And so how's he developing? How's he coming along as the guy who maybe is a little bit overlooked, but probably should not be?
No, he shouldn't be. I mean, I think he's poised to have a really nice year, and he's worked really hard on expanding his game as far as his ability to drive to the basket from, the elbow, different areas on the court. He's tried to add a 3, which has been going really well lately. Obviously, that'll need to sustain during the year and during practices, but so far so good. So he's really been trying to add to his bag, as the kids say. And to be honest, the biggest thing with Deshaun is just availability. I mean, when he's out there, when he's healthy, he's a really good basketball player. I mean, so that's the biggest thing for him is just, can we get him to play in all the games? Because if he does that, it'll go well. The minutes will be good. His production will be good. He'll be really challenging for the other team to deal with.
Yeah, he seems like a kind of a term that Bryce uses a lot that I like, and I'm sure you guys use too, is the word gravity. Right? He's kind of a high gravity player, right? Like when he's doing the things that he does, he sort of changes the geometry of the other team's defense, and could perhaps open up a lot of things for you guys, especially with the idea of, you mentioned your guards being big enough to, see over the defense. It seems like that was, a real challenge last year, and maybe something that could be, heading in a positive direction this year with maybe some bigger guards who can toss the ball down in there a little bit easier.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a good thing when opposing defenses have to adjust to you, and he's one of the few guys that you'll see some crazy things in any given game. Like you'll see a team that never ever doubles the post, and then all of a sudden they're throwing two guys at Deshaun every time he touches it. So he puts some fear in the other team, and he makes them make some hard decisions on, are they just going to try to play him one-on-one in the post and not give up any threes and cuts, or are they going to try to take him away and see if he can beat him?
Yeah, you just don't
the ball,
see that skill set that he has to be able to get position on the block and then catch it and then, really drop step and score. You don't see that. That's like a kind of a vintage 80s, 90s type of big man at this point. And he's when he's getting the ball in good positions, he can be pretty automatic. And we saw his field goal percentage shot up last year. He was finishing so much better. And if he can add out 15 to 22 feet, then that changes a lot for him too.
Definitely.
So yeah, I guess, at this point, you guys kind of have this, again, you because of your recruiting so well, you're bringing in so much talent. You have talented young guys, you have talented guys staying. How do you build a rotation out of this? And how do you motivate guys to want to, does that motivating? Does that help them want to earn minutes, knowing that, there's only, when you get to Pac-12 play, it's, 8 or 9 guys that are going to be getting significant minutes. So, now that you have so much talent on the rosters, you had it last year too, like, how do you motivate those guys to want to earn those minutes?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a challenge to work through, having a lot of capable guys, a lot of guys that can go in games and make a positive impact, knock down a three, block a shot, grab a rebound, whatever it may be. I don't envy Coach Smith with that. That's a challenging thing.
Glad you're not the one making those decisions.
No question. But as far as motivating them, I mean, they're competitive kids. Like, they care. I think in general, kids in college basketball are really competitive, and our guys are no exception. They're working on their craft hard and trying to become as good of individual players as they can be. But as we move further into the season, once we hit October, especially in November,
right,
the most important thing is the team, and kind of molding it all together and defining our roles, and everybody just doing the best thing they can to try to help the team, whether it's exactly the role they wanted or a little more than the role they wanted or a little less. That's just kind of how it goes. And I mean, I'll give you a story. Every place that we've coached, we hand the players like cue cards, in the preseason before we start practicing, and we ask them, how many minutes do you expect to play per game, and how many points do you expect to score? And without fail, when you add up all those minutes and points, it's a lot more than what the team ends up averaging. There's 200 minutes a game to divide up, and if you add up the whole team, you end up at usually 1,000 minutes or 800 something minutes, something like that. And when you add up the points, the good news is, guys, we're going to score 215 points a game, so we're in good shape.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
215 would be
that'll
great.
be fantastic.
Well, because we haven't even talked about guys like DJ and Andre, who they're going to be, they're fighting for minutes. They play the 3-4. Andre maybe more versatile to the 2-1 bit, but it just seems like there's there's positions where you have guys that you have depth, and it seems like a benefit to have those guys kind of motivated to, because we'll see each of them. We've seen guys like that throughout the year have big games, and so it seems like it's a benefit because they're working their butts off throughout the season to try to earn minutes. So when they get those minutes, they can come in and they can excel.
Yeah, no, they're really good players, and they've been through the wars and helped us win games. I mean, both of them have had really big conference games, hitting a bunch of threes, grabbing rebounds, whatever it may be. And I know the nature of these things. I mean, the fun thing when you go on the podcast is to talk about all the new guys and, how they're the best new guys that have ever been. But the reality is
so
college basketball is usually won by the returners. Those games are won by the older guys, so, we feel good about the returners that we have. We think they're not only talented, but they're really good people and really committed to the program and want to see Washington State break through. So as fans, as you're listening to this, as you're assessing the team or thinking about the new year, I mean, those are the first guys we got to be thinking about are the guys that have already made really good contributions to our program.
I'm curious about Andre a little bit. He came in with a lot of fanfare, really, highly regarded recruit, all of those things. Hasn't been the flashiest player, and yet when he's been healthy, which, he's gotten dinged up at times, but when he's been healthy, he's played heavy minutes for you guys. He just strikes me as the kind of guy who does a lot of little things right for you. Maybe shed a little light on that for fans who maybe don't see the things that he does that make him a valuable player for you guys outside of just his ability to space the floor.
Yeah. I mean, that is still the first thing. I mean, he is one of our best 3-point shooters, and that's valuable, especially when he slides to the floor and being able to space the floor. He also really works at it, rebounding, especially on the defensive glass. He helps us there. All of our data says that when he's in the game, we defensive rebound it better, especially when he's at the three. And then he's a unselfish player. I mean, he's had some 9 assist games when he's been here. But even when he's not getting assists, the ball doesn't stick in his hands. It kind of pops out to the next guy pretty quickly, and that helps an offense, So the biggest thing with him is just let's put it all together. I mean, last year he shot a good percentage from 3. He rebounded pretty well. At times he got a bunch of assists, but in general didn't have as many as I think he's capable of. Can we put that into his game too? Can he be a big driller, guy that knocks down shots, but also one that, can pump fake, drive a closeout, skip it across the floor and get Jabe a 3, get Bamba a 3, get somebody else a shot.
And the twos. Tell me that's just he's just unlucky. Like what is the deal with the finishing? Because I swear when I watched his I watched his U18 stuff from when he was a recruit, I'm like, yeah, this guy gets into the paint and he finishes and it's just like, is it a mental thing? Like, is it just something where he's finally going to break through on that?
See, you are so glass half empty. I mean, here's the positive way to look at this. He went up 10% from 2 last year.
That is true.
If he goes up another 10, then we're golden, But
yeah,
no, I mean, look, Andre would tell you it's a thing that he's worked on a lot, and
you can tell just watching him. Like you can see it. Like he's as like befuddled as anybody, right?
No, I think part of the problem is it has become a source of stress in his life. Like he wants it so bad, and one thing about our program is we're going to tell you where you stand. You're going to be abundantly aware of the things you're really good at and the things that you should probably try to get a little better at. So he knows finishing is high on his areas for improvement, and usually that's a good thing, being aware of your weaknesses. But sometimes it can make you grip a little too tight too, and that's the thing we gotta strike the balance of is making sure he's able to, and all of our guys are able to play free and with confidence and not worry constantly about the corrections they need to make. While we balance that with, we want to be a team that improves over the course of the year and makes those corrections and becomes harder and harder to scout.
Yeah, and we saw your offense took. I think sometimes the average family doesn't realize it, but your offense took a massive leap forward last year, and if you look at any number, massive leap forward. And there may be some games that stick in people's minds, but like we know that the offense is way better, and a lot of it was your distribution of usage was so much better. You didn't have one or two guys that were even Flowers wasn't dominating usage like guys had in the past, and so being able to have those guys
for sure.
So how do you motivate guys that go from like a 15% usage to a 22 to a 23, where if they're getting the ball, they should be looking to score rather than looking to pass? Because that's even something I see with Andre sometimes. It seems like he's not always ready to pull the trigger, but he has that skill set to do it. And so how do you move guys from being role players to wanting to be in scores?
Yeah, I mean, some of it I think happens organically. I mean, you can we can get our friend Ken Palm on here, and he can give you all the data, but usage goes up as you get older. That's just a kind of a stone-clad rule of college basketball. But you also, you can make them aware of it and encourage them. I mean, Mohamed Gay last year, when he first got out here, he went his first, maybe 3 or 4 practices with like one basket, just practices in the fall. And he was still doing great on the hustle stats because he was such a monster defender and rebounder. But we literally told him for his weekly goals, like, dude, you got to try to score. Like Mo, next practice, we need you to make 3 baskets. Like that's just stuff like that, And Andre probably could use some of that too. Just let it rip, man. We'll tell you if you're starting to be a pig and shooting terrible shots. That's probably not something we're very worried about with Andre.
Awesome. So you've obviously had some schedule announcements recently, some real big games, or bigger games than WSU has had in recent years on the schedule. Obviously, you're going and playing at Baylor. Baylor's probably going to be a top 10, top 5 team, and then you're also going to play against UNLV in Las Vegas. So, how exciting is that for you guys to be able to get those opportunities? And how important it is as a team, as a program that's trying to get back to the tournament, how important it is to have those games on the schedule?
Yeah, I think it's vital, and it's good on a lot of fronts. I mean, obviously the biggest thing that held us back from being a tournament team last year was our lack of quad one wins. So we thought it was important to add at least one, if not more, quad one opportunities in the non-conference this year. And Baylor will certainly be that, and there's a chance UNLV could be that, and there's a chance that a championship game of Diamond Head, if we're fortunate enough to get there, could be something like that too. And I think those games are fun for our players. They care about it, and those are good signposts to put during the season where you get to really find out where you stand. When we come out of the Baylor game, we'll have a good idea where we sit in the landscape. So it's just a maturation of the program. I think we're more ready for it now, certainly than we were in year one. The Baylor game probably would not have been a good move our first year here.
Dick Bennett when he got his first big recruiting class, his second year, with Kyle Weaver, Derek Law, those guys. They went down and played Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State, and they didn't score a point for the first 10 minutes and lost 81-29. So maybe I think your approach might be a little better.
Yeah. Somehow that's become one of the like legendary games in Coug history that lives on the lore. I mean, they all talk about it. I mean, Derek Lowe came back and talked to the team when we were down in LA, and he brought it right up. So it's amazing some of the folklore around the Cougs.
Well, and what a lot of people forget is what happened after that, which is they had this season where they had all these close losses, close loss after close loss after close loss, and because of that one game against Oklahoma State, people kind of went, whatever, and then of course the next year was the big corner turn. In terms of talking about scheduling, by the way, like that is, man, I don't know if fans know how hard that is for you guys and what a delicate balance that is between trying to, sort of ramp up for the Pac-12 season, but also give yourself some, a couple opportunities for resume builders. And then, oh, by the way, the other teams have to want to play you, right? Like when I think of this, this, for example, this Las Vegas, situation, like you're part of a doubleheader with Arizona and Indiana on the other half. Like, I mean, I got to think that though that invite doesn't happen without the success and the upward trajectory of your program, because that makes you a desirable team to play. So I don't know. I just think it's really, really cool. There's not really a question in there. It's just kind of more of an observation that what you guys are building. This is sort of the Baylor's willing to play you, and that you get this. You're willing to strike up this thing with UNLV and Arizona and Indiana. I just think those are validations of your program, and that's a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, no, our guys have earned it. I mean, that's the bottom line. Is you have to get to a certain level to be invited to these type of games. And we're not yet exactly where we want to be, but we're making good progress, and we've garnered some respect in the national landscape. And at times it can be too much respect. I mean, it's full disclosure to all the fans. I know our schedule is not out yet, and I am in large part to blame because I'm our scheduling guy. And scheduling's been really challenging this summer. One because of the volatility in college basketball with NIL and portal. Just in general, teams are further behind on scheduling than they've been in the past. But two, a lot of teams don't want to play us anymore. Some games that would have been really easy to contract in the past, teams are steering clear on. So we've had to really comb the country, and I've sent out hundreds and hundreds of emails and texts and cold calls, and just trying to get teams that will come out here, especially. Teams don't want to come up here and play a team that they think is really good. So it's a good sign for us, but it also keeps me up at night trying to finish the schedule.
Yeah, It has been delayed. Now we know who to blame. That's nice. We appreciate you giving everyone someone to blame.
Yeah. Well, that was my goal of coming on the podcast. So just make sure everybody knew who to throw the tomatoes at.
Yeah. So we'll give you credit for the recent recruits, but we'll also we don't know who we're playing in November, December, and that's your fault too. So that's funny.
Yeah. So we're one game away. So full disclosure, I think the schedule will be out in the next 7 to 10 days. Hopefully sooner, but we're really close.
Awesome. Well, John, it's been awesome having you on. Again, I don't know, third or fourth time. Maybe it's been 3 times without Ken Palm, and then the one time with Ken Palm, which we got to do that again for sure. But thank you for coming on, sharing your insight as an assistant basketball coach, and thank you for the pictures of lemurs and various other animals. maybe if you'll allow us, we could post one on Twitter and to give some of our listeners
absolutely
insight into what we were actually talking about. But yeah, so yeah, thank you. If you would like to, if you want to get those guys to get WSU back to the tournament this year, we would appreciate that. But no pressure, it's fine. Whatever you guys need to do, but we would love to see. We really enjoyed last year. Another step forward would be awesome, and yeah, thank you for coming on again.
No, thank you guys for having me, and thank you for doing this. Your engagement on social media, the podcast, the tweets, it's good. Any good program, especially at this level of college basketball, is good at generating commentary, interactions, just being present, being in people's minds. And we need that, our fans. It's great when they're engaged, when they're, obviously supporting us, but even when they're, talking some shit at times, like it's par for the course. It's what you need to be really good at this level is you need your fans really engaged.
That's really nice. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you guys.
All right. So thanks, John. And, we'll let John go, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about soccer and beer. But thank you, John, again. Hey,
the good stuff. I miss all the good stuff. Unbelievable. Yep. All right. Sounds good, guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
And we're back.
Well, that was fun.
We're back. That was super fun.
Always love having
it's like my
John
favorite
on.
thing.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I definitely have the podcast like on my portfolio. On my, if you're in media, you gotta have a portfolio, website, whatever. You apply to jobs,
Right.
You always want it, whatever. And so on my portfolio, I have, one of our episodes linked, and I have him and Kempom is like the one I have linked. But any episode with John's on, I love because he just, he gives such great insight. We know the limitations that a basketball coach, someone representative of the university has when coming in those. We're not stupid. You can't say everything, but still there's just so much insight into the players on the team, the process that the program has, and it's just cool. It's fun. So we always appreciate that from John.
Yeah.
So as it's always one of our favorite times having John on. Let's cheers to that with our beers.
Yeah.
And so what are you drinking, Jeff?
Yeah. Well, and since we always end up talking with John a whole bunch after we stop recording, which beer would you like me to talk about? Craig?
And this time before, I don't know. And this time it was before too. I don't. Yeah, the only thing that saved it is that my circuit breaker tripped and your mic crapped out. And so
my mic crapped out, yeah.
Otherwise, who knows how late we would have been up tonight. But
we might still be talking to John right now instead of
yeah.
recording the second half. All right, so my first beer, I'll talk about my first beer. My first beer, because you and I were in Yakima together last weekend, floating down the Yakima River and nearly dying trying to get out of the river. At least that's the story I'm going to tell people, is that we nearly perished trying to get out of the river.
Because we tried to get out at the wrong fucking spot.
I've tried to tell, but Chris is very confident, so I was like, okay, all right. I don't think this is it, but I'm going to,
that looks pretty difficult. Oh, and it was.
I'm like, this is moving pretty fast, and we're we're not going to get there, I don't think. Well, the funniest part was, okay, so we have this, like, you know, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but, you know, to catch our listeners up. So we had a flotilla, or a flotilla, as we talked, as we
Flotilla.
Yeah, flotilla, that's right. Of like 11 people roped together, and
plus the raft in the middle with the cooler,
plus the raft in the middle with the cooler and the
yeah.
snacks and the beer and the empties. And so if we're just being honest and transparent, the rope job was not particularly well thought through, how we tied ourselves together. And so
kind of did it.
Yeah, we just kind of did it, and worked great for like 98% of the ride down the river. And you know, after a while, we were kind of wondering if we're getting close to where it's time to get out. And then, you know, we came up upon a park or shoreline, and we thought, you know, somebody thought that, you know, perhaps this was it, and I was pretty sure it wasn't, because I had looked down at the shore where we had parked our car before, and I'm like, a bunch of people had pop-up tents, and man, this just seems like not the right one. But, you know, then we were, well, maybe this is it. And so then we tried to get over there. But the funniest part was, of these 11 people, about 3 people were paddling to trying to get us over where we were supposed to go. And everybody else is like, okay, this is great. Good job. Keep paddling. And I'm like, buddy, we gotta get over there. So, and then as we got over there, then we've got, you know, all these inner tubes, and the current was quite strong. And I'm like holding on for dear life to a tree, right? Trying to keep us all from floating down the river. And then Colin is like, Rochelle's husband is like standing, you know, up the river yelling at the people, hey, is this Rosa? And they're like, is this Rosa? And they're like, no, one more.
And we did not want to believe them.
No.
Like,
and I'm
I was holding on to the back behind, like, you and Sarah, just like trying to hold on. And it was so hard. And so finally I had to let go.
It
and
was really rushing. Yeah.
I got like swept under some tubes and then popped out the other side. And there was a moment that I thought, like, well, I think I'm just going to have to swim to the next stop, because the river's taking me away. And luckily I barely paddled myself over to like some shallower water and stopped.
Yeah.
And then people are screaming at us, this is the wrong one. And I'm like, it was like, Chris, go actually check, because I don't want to have to done all that and then it's the wrong one. But then we had another 15, 20 minutes on the river out there. Yeah. Which was pretty nice, you know.
And then we got down there out. And when it was time to get out down there,
incredibly easy.
You know, incredibly easy.
Yeah, like,
as you would imagine,
that's where you were supposed to get out. I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like that was the location all along.
The other one was definitely meant for motorboats and not not people floating in a flotilla of inner tubes. And also, when we got to the actual place to get out, everyone was paddling. Everyone was paddling at that point.
Yeah, we were all like, okay, this really is the one. Well, because there's actually signs that are like, this is the last place to get out. And it's like, okay, so everybody's like, no, for real, we got to get out this time.
Well,
but then as it turned out,
like a lot of like, so like the people that had done this before had not really done it much since high school. And so
that was a long time ago.
They were trying to go by 10, 15 years ago, trying to figure out, you know, it's longer for me, but I never did it in high school. Amanda did it high school, maybe a little bit, but you know, like Amanda's brother, he's wanting to do every summer. Finally put together. It was kind of funny. It started out just a cut like the week prior. It was just going to be us, you know, me, Amanda's brother, and his fiance wife, and my wife, Amanda. So we were gonna. It was just the 4. And then I got Rochelle to come, and then Chris and I have Amanda's brother and I, like, we'll talk about beer in a sec. Don't worry about it, guys. All the Yakima people are like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
So Chris and I have like what I like to call the extended universe of Chris and Craig's friends. Kind of the crux of that is Rochelle, who is friends with, who Chris had hung out with before, who is friends with one of Chris's best, like some of Chris's best friends. And so, so we got caught. So we were at, Chris's wife's, birthday, and Chris brought up, "Hey, Rochelle is going." And so two of them immediately like, "Yeah, if you move it to Sunday, we'll go." And so, okay, we'll move it to Sunday. And then Jeff and Sarah are hanging out with, celebrating my new job and all that, eating delicious steaks, drinking tiki
That's
drinks.
a whole nother story.
Tiki drinks, and then beer, and then on my back porch, more beer. Not Jeff, but me and Amanda, lots of beer. And seltzer. But then, boom, you guys are on board. Well, at least talking about it. And then Saturday, you're like, "Yeah, we're coming over." So, and then Rochelle brings her husband, her husband's friend, coworker. Suddenly, we go from 4 to 11 within like days. And I saw the stress on Chris's face when we were like, "We got 11 now." like.
And you are the guide.
Yeah, you're the guy.
You are responsible for keeping us all safe.
But yeah, it was super fun though. Like it was so much fun.
Insanely fun. Insanely.
I'm really glad we brought the music. I'm always very proud of my playlists, and people seem, especially our friend Dalton, our new friend. He seemed to really like my playlist, so I was happy with that. Maybe not up your alley, Jeff, but
it was great.
Yeah,
it was all, dude. It was all wonderful. I had
love
an
tossing.
insane amount of fun.
Oh, I loved your cooler, but I think it's better for a pool and not a river.
Yeah, maybe. I bought for the listeners, I bought a floating cooler. Which was okay. Like the floating cooler got along just fine until like we had like our freakouts. Like we were like worried. Oh my God, we're getting too close to the shoreline. And then everybody starts freaking out. And then, it wasn't the most stable thing at that point.
Sometimes we did get too close to the shoreline. It required,
we absolutely did.
Last second push-offs of rock so that we didn't like pop all of our inner tubes and be like stranded. So dumped over, but as we said, the river brought some of the alcohol, some of the water, but mostly the alcohol back to us. Because it's all going the same way that we are. That's
I mean, in case you didn't catch this, like the cooler actually like flipped over and like everything spilled out, and most of the seltzers and the waters made their way back. There was one water that was hilarious. Like I turned around and I could see, the water bottle kind of bobbing up and down, and it was probably, I don't know, at least 50 yards behind us. Like it was a ways back there. And then it just sort of like kept bobbing on down, getting closer and getting closer, and eventually it made its way back home. So yeah, poor little water bottle made its way back home, and everybody was happy. And so, yeah, but it's good because I packed more seltzers than what I could drink, knowing that, perhaps somebody else would want one or whatever. And it ended up working out just fine.
Yeah. And I always bring way more than I'm actually going to drink. And, I think a lot of, you always got to have that strategy when you're in a group of people. I do that with my tailgating strategy.
Did not realize it was because my cooler was going to get flipped over, but whatever.
Yeah. It was pretty funny when, before you guys came over, your wife, Sarah, like asks us like, do we need life jackets? Blah, blah, blah. And we're like, no, it's pretty calm river. It's very shallow. Like you don't need a life jacket. There was definitely a moment when I was getting pulled under the I know a life jacket would not have helped in that situation at all, but I also was like, there was also so I think like Colin and Rochelle brought life jackets.
Yes, they did. Yep.
And it was funny. There was at one point the life jacket fell off the flotilla, and Colin had to go swim out into the river to get the life jacket to save a life.
He was like,
jacket.
"Wait, we just bought that life jacket." He's
like, no,
swimming
no.
downstream to go get it.
I think Rochelle swam out to save one of your seltzers at one point. Too,
She did.
So.
She did. Rochelle's a hero. We all know this. So,
well, she was also.
That's what I mean. Colin is, a hero for getting the life jacket or whatever, but Rochelle's a real hero for getting the alcohol. So
yes, and Rochelle wasn't connected to the flotilla because
that's what was funny.
She was an inner tube. It was like an extra inner tube that we had brought. Her stand-up paddleboard didn't work out. We didn't have the right thing to pump that up, so she had an inner tube that we could not. It didn't have like. It's like it didn't have a big enough like holes to put the rope through, and so she was just kind of in it, and so she was kind of like a wild card the whole time. But she stayed.
Yeah, I think she just kind of held onto the rope, right?
Like, yeah. She was just kind of like had to have one hand on the rope, sipping saisons, very good stuff.
Yeah,
Like I think it was like she was talking about WSU football, and then sipping a saison, and like Chris said to me after, he's like, "Yeah, I could see why you guys are friends."
Yep, because you're both awesome. That's
speaking of beer. We never even got to it. You said you started talking about Yakima. We talked.
So that was the whole point.
By the way, Jeff,
So
Jeff, you win that over bet. That's definitely happening. By the way,
see, yeah, well, so the whole point of that was that I went to Single Hill and picked up some beer, and the one that I had tonight was the Adams Pilsner Crispy Mountain Beer, which is absolutely fantastic. And now I'm sort of pissed that I didn't pick up an entire 4-pack of just this. Because it is superior. It is a superior Pilsner. So,
yes,
very, very pleased that I got it. Crispy Mountain Beer is a really good descriptor. It says naturally brewed from the finest Northwest malts and Yakima Valley hops for the ultimate in refreshment. The bubbly of Gold Ribbon Feast beers does not oversell it. Superior beer.
It's also tremendous branding. They're very clearly kind of making fun of
absolutely
or playing off of both Pabst, Blue Ribbon, and Rainier at the same time. Yeah. So I love that.
Yep. It's fantastic. Yeah. So
even a little hams, you could say. Yeah.
But it totally lives up to it. Like absolutely great beer.
Tremendous beer. I definitely had one of those while I was watching the Sounders at Single Hill on the Friday last weekend. That was super fun. So yeah, if you're a Sounders fan and you live in Yakima, the place to watch is Single Hill. Love that brewery. Obviously, one of their founders I've known since high school. Great guy, and he was on the podcast a couple years ago when we
that was a while ago.
Yeah,
in the before times.
In the before times. But yeah, so Adams Pilsner, I definitely picked up one of those tonight. And Jeff, I'm so happy that you picked a Pilsner because this weekend is Pilsner Fest.
Woo!
It's Pilsner Fest time, baby. So this weekend, not Labor Day this year, it's this weekend, Pilsner Fest. So I also drinking a Pilsner. I did pick up an Adams today as well. I'm starting to build my roster of Pilsners for the weekend. Hopefully I'm feeling better. But I figured, hey, I have to drink tonight anyway. I think I'm killing some of the bugs that are
That's
making
how
me
it
sick.
works. That's definitely how it works.
So I have another one of these to drink on the weekend as well, and I'm glad I did because it's very good. But it's from a brewery called Zeugelhaus Brewing Company, out of Portland, Oregon. They brew mostly German style, like I think like almost exclusively German styles. And so this is in collaboration with a brewery called Ponderosa in New Mexico. And the description they have is Our friend Antonio is the head brewer at Ponderosa Brewing in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We all hooted and hollered when he won GABF, that's the Great American Beer Festival, gold for his Italian Pilsner last year, and then gold this year at the World Beer Cup. Part of Antonio's inspiration for his Pilsner came from another GABF gold medal winner, our very own Zeugel Pils. We figured we would do our friends in the Northwest a solid and share this delicious brew with them. So they brewed Ponderosa's recipe, and and you could brew the same recipe at different breweries. The water, the yeast they use, things like that will make things different every time. But so they brewed his Italian Pilsner recipe. It's very good, very tasty. It was definitely the second beer I drank. I had, it's pretty hot in my office. I was trying to avoid tripping the breaker by not turning in my AC. Breaker tripped anyway, so whatever. But I had it, covered in koozies. It was still a little warm when I started, so I'm excited to have it like cold, as pilsners are meant to be drank. But it was very tasty, very, hoppy, like Italian pilsners are meant to be. Good aromatics. Very good stuff. I am looking forward to drinking more from the Zeugel House Brewing Company. Man, Portland does well with these breweries, lager focused breweries. Obviously I love Wayfinder and Portland does really well with like breweries that are very nichely focused on specific things and do them very well. Upright is another one in the kind of the saison realm and stuff that I would say is very good. But Zeugel House, I'm impressed with this beer. Looking forward to drinking more. And then it is Pilsner Fest this weekend, so stock up on your Pilsners. And it's going to be hot. Get something crispy. Nothing more crispier than a Pilsner. And just enjoy that crispy life this weekend, folks. Like it is Pilsner Fest. I always like to say it's always Pilsner Fest, but this is really the Pilsner Fest. So, starting Thursday, Friday, I think my entire beer roster will be nothing but Pilsners. I've already started building that. I'm going to take a trip to Beer Star, Peaks and Pines, make sure I can fill that out, make sure I have plenty to drink over the weekend. So Pilsner Fest, baby. If you followed me on any of my social media last year on Labor Day weekend, you'll know I take Pilsner Fest very seriously. This is something that's run by, I honestly don't know exactly who. It's someone in Seattle. Beer Bottle Works is always involved. They actually brewed, which I'm hoping to pick up. I think Lucky Envelope brewed it, but a lot of other breweries were involved. So there's actually an official Pilsner Fest beer this year, which, as you would expect, is a Pilsner. So I'm really excited for Pilsner Fest. Get hyped with me. Drink them Pilsners. Also, fun fact, Miller Lite is technically a Pilsner. So
yes, it
go
is.
for it, folks.
That might have been one of the beers that I had tonight.
Very good. Pilsner Fest.
Woo!
All right. I'm trying to clear out. So the other beers I've had are a couple IPAs, so I'm just trying to clear those out of my fridge before Pilsner Fest starts. But yeah, we're over, Jeff. Congrats, buddy. You win.
There was a 0% chance that this segment was going to be less than 20 minutes. So
I know. Oh, I didn't expect us to talk about floating the river for 15 minutes, but
that's where we ended up.
The other thing we wanted to talk about was soccer kicked off their season.
Woo!
Playing in Ann Arbor, which
it's kind of a woo, I guess.
Yeah, it's a very soccer thing. You can have a game, especially early in the season. You just feel great about your team. They look great, but they also did not win.
Right.
And that is what happened at Michigan.
Yep.
Sometimes even though you maybe dominate a game, it doesn't go your way because putting the ball in the net is very difficult.
Yeah. It's, I would love to offer a whole lot of insight based off of watching the game, but I was not willing to pay Big Ten Network plus the extortion fees that they were charging in order to watch the game. So I did not watch it. I did see the highlights. Lots and lots and lots and lots of legitimate goal scoring chances. I think they outshot Michigan. What was it,
17 to
13
5
nothing? I'm talking second half. Like it was 13 or 14 to nothing in the second half. 17-5 overall, but second half was like one-way traffic toward Michigan's goal. Margie Treviso scored a tremendous individual effort type goal. There was another golden opportunity for the equalizer that Treviso had. She hit it right at the keeper. It's kind of hard to describe, but basically it wasn't a wide open net, but it was. There were lots of places she could have gone with the ball, and she happened to hit it, right at the keeper. So, and then other chances as well. So, it's one of those games where, like you said, it's a very soccer thing. Where you kind of go, missed opportunity. Yes. Sucks to lose, but also, if they did XG in college, right? XG is expected goals, right? When they look at, where you're shooting your shots from and, things like that. And they say, okay, this is how many goals you would be expected to score, doing all that. If they had XG for this game, the Cougs definitely would have been ahead in XG. And, it's just one of those things where you go, okay, it's first game of the season. Would you like to have that win against a team that, was, I don't know, I think they were Elite Eight last year.
Elite Eight,
they're ranked. Yeah. They're ranked 17 or 9, depending on which of the two polls you look at. Whatever it is, would have been a really, really quality win. So that's a bummer. But at the same time, you go, well, they went on the road and more or less sort of dominated, except for a couple of counterattacks, which, I mean, those count. So, they count, but, at the same time, when you're trying to kind of think about how things project over a season, you're really thinking about like goal creation and defense. And, they create a lot of dangerous opportunities, and that's the sort of thing that bodes well. I do think they need to come back. People will probably be listening to this on Thursday, I hope. So Thursday, we're recording Wednesday night. Thursday night, they got the home opener against Portland. Portland's no slouch. In fact, I was stunned to find out when I was doing some research tonight that we have never beaten Portland in 15 tries.
Portland is that's Megan Rapinoe. Lots of, that's just a great, soccer program, Portland soccer. Yeah. Yep.
And my vivid memory of them is losing to them in PKs in the tournament 3 years ago or whatever it was. So yeah, need to win that one. That's kind of a, if you're gonna, you lost to Michigan and played well and probably should have won, and I mean all those things, but you got to back it up with, okay, now you got Portland at home. That's a game you should win if you're as good as everybody thinks, and so see what happens there. So, but I'm incredibly excited. I think this is still a really, 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 really good team. And they had a top 10, we talk about basketball. They had a top 10 recruiting class. And most of those most of those young people, I don't know how to describe them, are not being expected to make major contributions this year. That's how deep and experienced they are. So yeah, big expectations still.
Yep. It's program. You gotta hope, it's just one match, and we know that in soccer, just match to match, there's more volatility than a lot of other sports. Maybe not as much as baseball because the starting pitcher has such an impact, but the volatility match to match, just because you could have a keeper has an amazing day, or just shots are 1 or 2 inches off and all that. We saw. We saw our Sounders lose in the playoffs last year, where the other RSL didn't even take a shot, and we
literally was not trying to score.
Yeah, and we saw the Sounders win an MLS Cup where they did not take a shot on goal. They didn't make a shot on goal, and so it's soccer's fucking weird. And so you hope, the hope is that this isn't some indicator that they're going to have trouble. They don't have the finishing talent. Now, I think they do. have it. But you've lost Elise Bennett, so you kind of hope that, even last year sometimes that we saw matches like this where they had trouble. They were great at creating, not great at finishing. So hopefully that's not something that carries over. Hopefully they, the more experienced players have gotten better, are able to step into Elise's shoes and the other talent they've lost in the last couple of years. But again, this deep team, great team, just hopefully not ruined by inability to finish. But if a team can create chances, especially at like in college, there's a lot of the teams not going to have like elite keepers and things like that. If you create chances, you're going to have a good. That's the most important thing. So that's what when you talk about XG. That's the most predictive.
You can talk about exactly. You can talk about not being clinical or whatever, but all you can do is create chances. And look, Margie DeTrizio was an absolute monster in that game. 7 shots on goal, or 7 shots, 5 shots on goal, 1 goal. She was a handful. She was an absolute load for Michigan, which bodes really, really well. She played well last year in her run of starts while Elise Bennett was hurt. Now Elise Bennett is off to the NWSL playing for Kansas City, right?
Yep.
So playing for Kansas City, just DeTrizio looks like she is ready to absolutely step into that line of strikers. Morgan Weaver, Trinity Rodman obviously never played for us, but she's really good. And then Elise Bennett, DeTrizio looks like she's ready to absolutely step into that spot as that lead striker. She was physical. She was clinical on the goal that she scored. So yeah, real exciting there. And yeah, they've got lots and lots of other attacking options, and all you can really do is create chances. If you can create lots of chances, then you're going to score some goals. So, you give me a team that, lost their first game, but created a boatload of chances, versus a team that, maybe squeezes out a win. Like if I'm Michigan or I'm Washington State right now, like if I, as a Washington State fan, I feel better than I would feel if I was a Michigan fan, if that makes sense. Like Michigan sort of held on for dear life. And if I'm thinking about the rest of my season, I'm like,
and they were at home.
Man, we went on the road and should have won that game. And, Michigan got the win, and I'm sure they feel good about that. But yeah, I feel better, I think, than a Michigan fan ought to feel.
Yeah. And it's exactly. And the great thing is you weren't playing this game in, the round of 32 or the round of 16.
Yep.
Like it was the first game of the season. They're good enough. They're going to get enough wins. They have plenty of opportunities to, have plenty of wins, get in the tournament. Like, and they definitely have a squad to do that. And, now maybe it's a motivator, and we know they have the skill. So that's great.
Yep.
Jeff, I have to mention, hold on. You have to talk for a second because I have to cough.
Okay. What should I talk about? I don't know what else to talk about. Volleyball on Friday. Season opens, so that's good.
All right, cool.
I'm excited about that. Oh, you're back. Okay, good.
The other program at WSU.
Yes.
Yeah, they got Duke on Friday in Provo. So Duke, Ryder, and then they're playing number 10 at BYU on Saturday. So they have 2 matches, 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Friday. And then on Saturday, 6 p.m., the headliner, I would think, but top 2 teams in this little tournament thing would be the battle for the Go Cougs again. So that's a tough opening trip. The BYU Invitational, it's called. So that'll be, they always have one of these to start the season. Last year, if I remember, I didn't go that well, but they really rebounded really well off of it and had a really great season. But Yeah, and then they have the Cougar Challenge after that, and then another invitational. Apparently, that's just how they do non-conference in volleyball. Is invitationals and
there's
that.
like 3 of those. There's like their first, I don't know, 9 games are 3 different invitationals.
No,
in
it's
September.
So BYU Invitational, that's 3. Cougar Challenge, that's 3. Fairfield Invitational, that's 3, and then the University of Minnesota Diet Coke Classic, that's 2. So their entire
that's right.
Their entire non-conference schedule is like events. So all 11 matches. Like the only true road matches they have are at Minnesota, at Fairleigh Dickinson, and at BYU. So that's and then the only home matches they have in the non-conference are at the Cougar Challenge. So there'll be only 3 out of 11 matches will actually be played in Pullman. So that's the Friday. So they play CSU Bakersfield and Belmont on the Friday before the Cougar football opener. So for those of you that are traveling over for that, you could catch some volleyball. Yeah. But yeah, man. So I do have to say, we had our troubles with our little flotilla. One of the trending topics I see on the right hand of my Twitter screen is a 129-foot super yacht sinks off the Italian coast. So hey, we're doing better than them.
We're doing better than them.
All 9 people survived. I wouldn't joke about it if anyone died. Okay. Like the Coast Guard. There were
only 9 people aboard that thing.
Yeah, kind of fuck off there too. But 129-foot yacht. Like what the fuck? Like so, yeah. I mean, I watch Below Deck. If it's 9 people, I'm guessing like most of those were just crew. Maybe it was only crew. I don't know. Like
yeah.
Below Deck, they got that many at least on crew. Maybe they were. Okay, so there was 4 passengers and the rest were crew members. So interesting. Everyone should know that John won his FIFA match. I hope everyone needs to know that he played after he got off of live updates right here at the desk. We're getting word John Andrzejek won his FIFA match tonight. He will go to sleep happy. Good times. But yeah, so now that we've talked about Italian super yachts and John's FIFA success, I think that's time to wrap it up. You can follow me on Twitter at the Craig Powers. You can follow Jeff at Pod versus Everyone. You can follow me on Insta and on TikTok at Craig W Powers. And you can email us. Still haven't gotten an email since March. Come on now. You can email us at podcastvseveryone@gmail.com. Send us an email. Almost certainly will get read because I have not received an email since March. So I promise you will get read and replied to. And I'm pretty good about it. It's funny, I'm better about checking it now, and we never get an email. Back when we were getting emails, I was never checking it. But, what are you going to do? A watched email account never gets an email. I think that's the old adage. So, yeah, Jeff, with all of that, all we got to say is go Cougs.
Go Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
And you should still get vaccinated.